Can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we're going to finish the life of Prophet Ibraheem and then start Surah Al-Hajj, inshallah. I'm told if you want to listen to dua, you can go downstairs. So entirely up to you. Okay, so let's finish the story of Prophet Ibraheem. And we stopped here, which was the 4 birds. Do you remember, right? So now we're just going to go ahead. And you can see Prophet Ibraheem, he's visiting his son all the time. Whenever he gets an opportunity, he goes to visit Prophet Ismail. And when we do the surahs of the Qur'an that we come to, like surah number 37 or 22 or 26, which is Shu'ara, which talks a lot about Prophet Ibrahim, we'll do a lot more. But right now, he visits him, and he says, if you look at it, Ya Bunayya. Now, Bunayya in Arabic is a word, is an endearing word. So it's like saying, my jaglo chokro in Gujarati, right? Somebody I'm really close to. So, Ya Bunayya. Inni ara fil manami. So I have seen in a dream, Anni azbahuka, that I am sacrificing you. He's actually telling his son, I'm going to sacrifice you. Fandur madha tara. So think about it. And he says, Qala ya abati, oh my father, if al ma tu'amaru. Do what has been commanded to you. So tajiduni inshallah min as-sabirin. You will find me someone who will have self-control. You've got to see this dynamic because you've got an old father and you've got a young son. And this is his only son. And he's telling his son, I see a dream in which I'm going to kill you. So he tells his father, I don't think I'll be able to do this. I'd like you to put a blindfold over my eyes. And I'd like you to tie me down so I don't see anything. This is my way of making sure that I don't protest. Quran doesn't say it, but this is where we are here. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَ وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. And he says this is what he did. He thought that he had sacrificed his son. Now I'd like you to go back to a situation whereby you have an old father, you have his only son. You can only imagine that the only way he can do this is by closing his eyes. He can't do it with his eyes open. How can you sacrifice your son? If Musa couldn't throw her son into the river without Allah holding her heart, you can see it. And he says, وَنَادَيْنَاهُ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ. So if he thinks he's finished, he's not looking at what he's done, and he goes into sajda. And Allah calls out to him. And he said, قَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا. You have fulfilled your dream. Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. This is what we do to those who are good. Inna hadha lahu bala'ul mubin. This was an absolutely great test. فَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْهٍ عَظِيمٍ. And you passed your test, in other words. And he sees his son okay, and near him a ram, which you can see a picture of, right? Okay. So now this is done. There are a lot of ahadith that you might see that when he's going towards sacrificing his son, shaitan comes and tells him, don't go. Maybe you read a lot about it, especially when you go for Hajj. And we do this sacrifice on Eid al-Hajj let me go back, in recognition of this sacrifice. If you look at Quran, it says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Do you know where it is? Oh, come on. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Lan, never. You can look it up. It's the first ayah, one of the Juz. I won't even tell you which one. Come on, it can't be that difficult. There's 30. Look, over there she's telling me. It's Juz 4. Okay, you've told them, okay? Juz 4. Lan, never. تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ. You will never achieve righteousness. حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Until you sacrifice that which you love the most. Everybody has something different that they love. 99% of people love themselves. So to give of yourself is difficult, but you can go through it and you probably read. And when we talk about the rites of Hajj, during Hajj, inshallah, if God gives us life, we'll go through all these. Okay, so now Sarah is still not good. But because she has already seen a miracle with Hajara, she knows it is possible. If you knew that the impossible can be made possible, then you will start doing the same sort of du'as. So she keeps on telling Ibrahim, do du'a, do du'a. I need to have a son. And look what happens. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُلُنَا, and our messengers or angels come to Ibrahim bil-bushra, with good news. Now the moment Ibrahim had guests, he would make a big banquet. And when he made this banquet, these people would not touch the food. Now in Arab culture, you don't touch the food of the person you're going to kill. That's just Arab culture. You just don't touch that food. So in his head, there is fear as well. In her head, there is fear as well. They don't see these as angels, they come as human beings. قَالُوا سَلَامًا, they say salama. قَالَ سَلَامٌ فَمَا لَبِثَ أَنْ جَاءَ بِإِجْلٍ. Now you can see up here, Hanid, that he brings them a roasted calf. And then he says, فَلَمَّا رَأَىٰ أَيْدِيَهِمْ لَا تَصِلُّ إِلَيْهِ. But when he sees that they don't take them food, and this is exactly what I told you, وَأَوْجَسَ مِنْهُمْ خِيفَةً. He's a bit frightened. He thinks they're going to kill him. Okay? قَالُوا لَا تَخَفْ. They say, don't be scared. They see the fear on his face. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِ لُوط. We have come because we have... Now, do you know who Lut was? You remember? Are you with it? Ibrahim was married to Sarah. Sarah's brother was Lut. Lut was sent to this place where they used to kidnap young people for their own gratification. Okay, good. All right. Now, they're also telling him, وَامْرَأَتَهُ قَائِمَةٌ. She's near them. Now I'd like you to, I know this translation says she laughed. فَضَحِكَتْ. ضَحَكَ in Arabic not only means to laugh, but it means to ovulate as well. So you can see the translation. And the translation is quite plausible, that if somebody told an older woman of 80 or 90 that you're going to have a son, it's plausible that she laughed. But Qur'an uses the word dhahikat, which may also mean that she ovulated. فَضَحِكَتْ فَبَشَّرْنَاهَا بِإِسْحَاقٍ. And we gave her the good news, not only of Ishaq, وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقِ يَعْقُوب, that Ishaq will have a son called Yaqub. Now I'd like you to look at that word dhahika. When we go far off into the Qur'an, we look at different words that have been translated differently. Right? You can look up dhahika, you'll see there's so many different translations, okay? قَالَتْ يَا وَيْلَتَ. She said, oh my goodness. Alidu, ana ajuzun, how am I gonna be, have a child? Ana ajuz, wahada ba'li shaykhan. Not only am I an old woman, but look at this man, he's an old man. My husband is an old man. Inna hadha la shay'un ajib. This is so strange. Ajib is strange. I don't look at the translation as such, okay? Now here, 9 months later, she gives birth to Ishaq. Right? Normally at that age, you don't want to give birth. You can't even manage the grandchildren. Forget about your own children. Okay? But she gives birth. Okay. Now those angels who bring the good news, you can see there. فَلَمَّا ذَهَبَ عَنْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الرُّؤُ وَجَاءَتْهُ الْبُشْرَى يُجَادِلُنَا فِي قَوْمِ لُوط. They have told him right before that we've been sent to the people of Lut. But Ibrahim, inna Ibrahim lahalimun awwahum munib. He is so soft-hearted. He makes so many excuses. Now, you can go into a hadith, you can look at all the stories of Ibrahim, and you will see that he tells them, but in a place of 50 people or 100 people, all of them can't be wrong. What about 50? What about 25? What about 20? He keeps on saying, what are you going to do? But in the end, he's worried about Lut. And they say, Ya Ibrahim, a'arid an hada. I know you're going on and on about these people, and they might change, and someday will happen, but just let it go. إِنَّهُ قَدْ جَاءَ أَمْرُ رَبِّكَ. This is the amr of your Rabb. وَإِنَّهُمْ آتِيهِمْ عَذَابٌ غَيْرَ مَرْدُودٍ. This is something that has been ordained. It's a punishment that will never ever be averted. Okay? I repeat again. The punishment on the people of Lut was because they stopped caravans that were going. They went a place that, you remember I told you that Ibrahim settled at a place that was crossroads. This place wasn't far away, and they would attack those caravans. They would kidnap children, and then, when I say children, they would kidnap young boys and use them for their own pleasure. وَلَمَّا جَاءَتْ رُسُلُنَا لُوطًا. Now these angels come to Lut. سِيءَ بِهِمْ. And he saw them, and he knew. He knew immediately what was going to happen. وَذَاكَ بِهِمْ ذَرَعًا وَكَالَ هَذَا يَوْمٌ عَسِيبٌ. And he says, this is really, really difficult. I've tried really hard with these people. I've tried to change them, but it's going to be a really hard day. So you know what he does? He wants to do everything possible. He goes to these people and he says, you know what? Marry my daughters. All these daughters that I have, marry them. Who are these people? They're people who actually kidnap others. But he doesn't want to see any punishment on his people. So he says, and you see what Qur'an says, okay? He says, وَجَاءَهُ قَوْمَهُ وَخَرَعُونَ إِلَيْهِ وَمِنْ قَبْلُ كَانَ يَعْمَلُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. They're already doing something wrong. Qala, he says, Ya qawmi, oh my people, haulai banati, these are my daughters. Hunna atharu lakum, this is what is right for you. Fattaqullaha wa la tukhzuna fi dhayfi alaysa minkum rajulun rashid. You know what? I don't want to be ashamed about my people in front of these guests. He says, I don't want to do that. Take my daughters. Well, they said, قالوا لقد علمت ما لنا في بناتك من حق وإنا لتعلم ما نريد. You know what? We don't want your daughters. We want what we want. You can bring any solution you like. When the human being, you and I, have made up our minds about something, it's very hard to change. I'm not sure. Let me just take something that is not as kidnapping young people. But we do the same thing. Have you and I both all go to majalis, right? As soon as majalis is over, sometimes there is a wafat majlis and there's latmiya, what you call matam, and then you sit down for tabarruk. Oh my goodness, have you sat with people for tabarruk? He said, she said, you said, did you see her, did you see him? It's no different. Because we know what is wrong, yet we will do exactly what we want. And that's no different from these people. And these are lessons for you and me to take back, right? I remember one hadith that really gets to me, and I will mention it to you. It was quoted by Imam Khomeini. And he said, when you talk about somebody, then your tongue becomes as long as the difference between you and where they are. And the dogs of hell will eat that tongue. And I remember that, and I used to think, God, I can't talk about anybody in Africa, or I've just been to North America, I can't talk about it. Can you imagine how difficult that might be? And it brought it home. It really did. So anyway, قال لو أن لي بكم قوة أو آوي إلى ركن شديد. And you know, he said, I really don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. So قالوا, they said, Ya Lut, this is what the angels are saying. Inna rusulu rabbika lan yasilu ilayk. We are the angels, or we are the messengers of your Rabb. فَأَسْرِ بِأَهْلِكَ بِكِتْءٍ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. You and your followers need to leave in the middle of the night. وَلَا يَلْفَتِتْ مِنْكُمْ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا امْرَأَتَكَ. Do not take your wife. Why? Because when these messengers were home, she sent a signal to all the people in the town, and she sent a smoke signal to all the people in the town that these people have come and you're in trouble. So he's told, you will not take your wife. You will not take your wife. إِنَّهُ مُصِيبُنَا مَا أَصَابَهُمْ إِنَّ مَوْعِدَهُمُ الصُّبْحُ لَيْسَ الصُّبْحُ بِقَرِيبٍ. And he told them that, you know what? You need to go. Don't worry what's going to happen in the morning. There are two riwayah. One is that the wife sent smoke signals to say that these messengers have come and you're in trouble. And the second one says that fresh people have come. So come and take them. Talking about the angels. Right? All right. فَلَمَّا جَاءَ أَمْرُنَا. And when our amr came, جَعَلْنَا عَالِيَهَا سَافِلَهَا. Everything was turned upside down. وَامْطَرْنَا, matara is to rain. We rained upon them. Hijaratan is stones. Min sijil, made out of baked clay. Mandud, one after the other. Right? Musawwamatan inda rabbika, they were marked. It's like, I think when you see movies and you see somebody's, you see that, you see the gun which has the pointer and it shows a red mark on someone, or it tells you exactly what the target is. They were targeted. وَمَا هِيَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ بِبَعِيدٍ. And this is exactly what is the end of those who are unjust. Okay. Now, it's not an easy place. It's a sad place for Prophet Ibrahim. But he visits Bakka often. I told you he visits Ismail often. And on one of those visits, he is told to rebuild the Kaaba. And we will see in Surah Al-Hajj when we do it, how the Kaaba already had its foundations from Prophet Adam. So he's told to rebuild the Kaaba. And he and Ismail make bricks out of the water of Zamzam. A voice calls out from Abu Qubais. Abu Qubais is the mountain range. By the way, if you go now, you probably might not be able to see the range of Abu Qubais because they've actually torn it apart or blown it apart. Now, Abu Qubais was a mountain range, and from that mountain range, a voice comes and says, Ya Ibrahim, I have a amana for you. And the amana was the black stone. We are told that it was a stone from Jannah that was white, that was pure, that was white. But when so many people touched it, and when so many people's impure souls touched it, it became black. So today it's black, and you probably see it. There's a whole story about the black stone. Maybe during Hajj we'll go in near it. So he retrieves that black stone from Abu Qubais, and you know where it is placed today. And near the door, Ismail had, and you can see it, he had a place called, have you heard of Hatim? When you go to Makkah, you see Hatim, and people say, do dua at Hatim. Well, that was exactly the place where Ismail fed his sheep. Now you can imagine, they build the Kaaba, halfway there, they can't reach on top. They need a ladder. There were no ladders. So Allah made this, told him there's this stone, stand off in Ibrahim. Now for a minute, imagine this stone going up and down. You call it Maqam Ibrahim, right? But you got to imagine, it's like a lift. It goes up and down, and it was raised and lowered, and it was amazing. They could actually build the whole Kaaba. I don't know, have you been for Umrah, Hajj? I'm sure you have. It's very hard during Hajj to go near Maqam Ibrahim. You're told to pray behind it, you pray about ages behind. But Umrah, sometimes you come near it. If you look at the bottom of Maqam Ibrahim, see what you can see. Okay, try. Inshallah, we will go together. Okay, so when they finish, they raise their hands in dua. And all of you know this. They say, Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim. So you and I as well, whenever we finish any task, Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim. The moment you finish Qur'an reading, the same thing, Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim. Now he asks for the 4 P's. He says, Rabbana waj'alna muslimayni laka. Make us those who submit to you. Wa min dhurriyyatana, and also our children. When you talk about yourself, talk about your children as well, how low soever. Ummatan muslimatan laka. So they make a ummah of Muslims. Wa arina manasikina. And show us how we are able to do. In Surah Al-Hajj you will see, you're basically telling Allah, show us what sort of devotion you want. When we come to Hajj, you will see how He tells us exactly what to do. We don't know what to do. How are we going to show you that we love you? In this country, when you love someone, you buy them chocolates and flowers. No? Well, that's sort of general, whatever. You can go to the petrol station and buy flowers and chocolates and whatever. Well, you're saying, I really don't know what you want. Innaka anta tawwabur rahim. I know I can turn towards you. I know you are Rahim, but I need to know how to worship you. When I say worship, how to submit to you. What do you like? I don't know about you, but Everybody has different tastes. Some like 1 sugar, some like 2 sugars, some like green tea, some like black tea. Some will not have tea unless it's got this condensed milk in it. Oh, they don't like fresh milk. They like condensed milk. And then I have one lovely young lady who came home and she said she doesn't have sugar. She has to have gore. What is it called? Whatever, jaggery, yeah. So I had to order jaggery for her because she's like, jaggery. Okay, so everybody has their own. So in the same way you're telling Allah, what is it that you want? And we'll see the answer in Surah Al-Hajj, okay? Now, when he finishes the Kaaba, what does he do? He's told, climb on top of the Kaaba and announce. How many people will listen? There was no microphone. There was no internet. There was nothing. He just went on top of the Kaaba. وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ. Announce to people, do the adhan, announce to people, bil-hajj. يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا. Now this is not rijal as in men, and we'll see it in Surah Al-Hajj. It comes from rijl. Rijl is a foot, rijal is feet. They will come on foot. وَعَلَى كُلِّ ذَامِرٍ يَعْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ أَمِيقٍ. And they will come on every thin camel. Why a thin camel? And from every remote path. Because a fat camel, when he travels all the distance to Hajj, becomes thin. If you were to walk to Hajj, even you would lose a lot of weight. So he's saying that walk, that distance is going to make you thin. It's a good workout. Again I say, if you've been to Hajj and Umrah, the tawaf and the sa'i is a good workout. It's not easy. It's tough. Anybody who says it's easy hasn't been. Okay? So if you've been, you do know that before you go, you got to practice walking, right? Or you don't know that. You really have to go to the gym. You've got to go on the treadmill. You've got to go up and down the stairs. Because otherwise, it's not easy. It really is tough. Okay? So he's saying that they will come. And from have you been to Hajj, obviously? I keep on saying that again and again. You go to Hajj and Umrah, and you are told that in Mina, you're supposed to meet people, not just stay with Khojas. You know that? Not only with your own group. But if you go to the Kaaba and you sit down with people, you see the most amazing people. I know the last time I went for Umrah, I was sitting there, an old lady. I couldn't understand her because she spoke a dialect of Arabic that I didn't even know. But soon with sign language, you understand what you're saying. And she had been saving for 20 years to come and see the Kaaba. She just sat there, and it was amazing because through sign language she could talk a lot. So here he says, they will come min kulli fajjin amik, from places you didn't even think about that people would be there. Okay? All right. Why should they come? لِيَشْهَدُوا مَنَافِيَ لَهُمْ. So they will come and see the advantages of Hajj. What is the advantages of Hajj? Networking, meeting people, connecting to Allah. وَيَذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهَ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ. And you will continually remember Allah in those days. مَا رَزَقَهُم مِّن بَهِيمَةِ الْأَنْعَامِ. And you will obviously give your sacrifice. فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا. And remember at that time, even today, you cannot store meat. So you can eat of it as well. وَأَطْمِعُ الْبَائِسَ الْفَقِيرِ. And you will find people who need that food, the distressed one and the fakir. If I'm not mistaken today, the meat of Qurbani is sent to people who might need it. But whether it's now or then, you're supposed to find people to take it. Hajj is not Hajj. If you and I go on a luxury tour, and we say somebody else is going to do my Qurbani, and I'm going to sit in my luxury hotel, and I'll sit on my wheelchair, and somebody will take me round, and that's not Hajj. Hajj is something completely different. Okay. ثم ليأخذوا ثفتهم وليؤفوا نذورهم وليطوفوا بالبيت العتيق. And once you've finished, then you have done a workout. You're not clean. When you finished all your stuff and you're in your ihram, you now want to just get rid of that ihram when you've finished. Because you stink. If you don't stink, you've got problems. Oh, you don't know that? And then when people go for Hajj, they say, can I have those deodorants that have no smell, blah, blah, blah. You've heard all that, don't you? Which one do I buy? Is it simple? Or what do I get? All the rest of it. So basically, you're in a state where you've had a good workout. Now you need to be clean. And Qur'an says, go clean yourself. You cut a bit of your hair, but it's not that. It's having a good shower, having cleaning, and then obviously you do your final tawaf. You do know that, yeah? I'm not going to go into Hajj rules at the moment. Okay, here we go, the 4 P's again. So, وَإِذْ قَالَ Ibrahim. So what does he say? He raises his hand. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدَ آمِنًا. This is a dua you and I can do as well. Make this city safe. Make my home safe. وَجْنُبْنِي. And what does he say? وَجْنُبْنِي. Save me. وَبَنِيَّ, and my sons, and نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ, that we never, never, never attach ourselves to asnam is idols. Idols are not only the idols that you and I see when people worship them. They're mental idols as well. And this is a dua that you can use in your kunut all the time. Okay. Then he says, and you all know this one. This is answered in Surah Al-Jumu'ah. رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا. Raise amongst them a messenger. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ. That he will recite to them his signs. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. And he will teach them the book. وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and wisdom. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, and he will purify them. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. Please could you turn to Surah Al-Jumu'ah, which is Surah number 62. And you'll see the answer. And you tell me what's different in what he asks and what the answer is, which is a good lesson for you and me to take. Okay? So, 62. He says, وَالَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. What was the first term he asked for? يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ. Then he says, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. But what did he ask for? وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. And then he says, وَالْحِكْمَةِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. But look what Allah says. As soon as he has shown him the signs, which means reading his book, he says, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. Then he says, وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. عَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ in Arabic is basically learning the how of religion. We do it exactly this way. We don't do it that way. We first teach our children how to pray, how to fast, without teaching them the why of religion. While here he says, first why, purify yourself, and then teach the how. Because then the how will not make sense. If I told my child continuously, pray, 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 but I never taught them what prayer meant, I didn't teach them the value of prayer, I didn't teach them what it was about, it becomes a ritual. And this is an amazing dua. That is why in Jumu'ah you will recite the answer all the time, right? And 99% of the time in our community, and I talk about myself first, in our community, we will teach the how of religion rather than the why. Why should you love Allah? I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up, but if you think for a moment, do you understand your salah? Do you understand every action of your salah? Why ruku? Why sujood? What do you say? Or do you just say, Bismillah ar-Rahman? Is that how we read? Because that's how we were taught. So, time to change. Inshallah, we will do that at some stage, right? So now what happens? The people surrounding Makkah pour into Makkah. Already when Hajra settled, if you remember I talked about it, the Bani Jurhum came in because they saw water there, right? And they gave her a camel, each family gave her an animal, and she had this whole big flock because they came because of her, because the water came because of her. But here now, Prophet Ibraheem takes them through the different aspects of Hajj. Soon after Hajra dies, Ismail is distraught, and I mean distraught. And he wants to protect his mama. So he buries his mama near the Kaaba, what you and I today call Hijr Ismail. Hijr means the skirt. She is buried down there. You know, a black woman slave If you look at the dynamics even today, her color was important, the fact that she was a slave, and the fact that she was a woman, and the fact that she was Ibrahim's, if you can say, sidekick, inverted brackets. Because Sarah gifted Ibrahim. So she was a slave, right? And she was left in the desert all on her own. Today, when you and I go for Hajj, the greatest prophet is Ibrahim. Yet you just look at Maqam Ibrahim. Whose footsteps do you and I follow? Hajras. Sa'i was done by Hajra. In Hijra Ismail is where people, they flock to go there because du'as are going to be answered because of that, that water pipe that comes from the top. That's Ismail. That's Hajra, right? Really important. Okay. Now it's Ibrahim. Fast forward on his deathbed. He's about 175. Remember that shirt that he wore when he was thrown in the fire. You remember that? You remember the ring? I gave you the inscriptions. He gives them to his son Ishaq, and he gives advice to his children. And when death approaches him, and this is one of the most beautiful stories of the Qur'an, he says, Allah called me Khalilullah. This is a prophet of God. I'm not talking about you and me. I'm talking about a prophet of God who is known as the friend of God. And Allah tells him, you are Khalilullah. And when the angel of death comes, he says, how can a friend kill a friend? And Jibreel says, can't do this. Malakul Maut says, I can't do this. Goes back, gets an answer, and says, why does a friend refuse to meet a friend? Okay. And he instructs his son, and you can see the ayah, you can go, and the reason why we didn't put it there is for you to go, 2132. Can you have a look? It's a Wawassa biha Ibrahim, because Imam Bakr did the same thing. Banihi wa Ya'qub ya bunayya. Oh my sons, inna Allah astafa lakumuddin, Allah has chosen. Istifa, by the way, means something that you choose without being compelled to. You're free to choose. You didn't look at anything else, but you chose to do it yourself. No pressure from anyone. So that, he says, Allah has chosen for you a deen. Deen is something you exchange your life for, okay? فَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Do not die unless you are in submission. Because it's a bit of a, it's difficult to say. Because you don't know when you're going to die. So basically, he's telling them, submit to Allah at all times. And this is the same wasiyah that the fifth Imam used this ayah in his wasiyah. If you haven't written your wasiyah, or if you have written it, put an addendum. All you have to do is 2, 1, 3, 2. You know, the nice thing about children is that they listen to you after you die. They don't listen to you when you're alive. If you told them something to do in your will, they will follow it, okay? But if you continually tell them, they might do it. Anyway, he was buried in his home in Hebron, which is southwest Palestine at the moment. Are you good? Okay. So we're going to look at Surah Al-Hajj. Let me try and find it. I know I don't have much time. Is this what I've got? Yeah, I've got it there. Okay. So we're going to start Surah Al-Hajj. I've still got a little bit of time. Okay. I love Surah Al-Hajj. I have a special affiliation to it because when I'm 67, by the way, so it's a long time ago. When my mother was expecting me, she was petrified. I was her first child, and she was very, very scared. And she says that one night she slept and she was so scared, and somebody told her in her dream to recite Juz 17. Now, Juz 17 is Anbiya, which we did, and Surah Al-Hajj. I could never, ever, ever understand why, even as a child, if you quoted any part of Surah Al-Hajj or Anbiya, I would know it. And I didn't know that. Until many, many years later, when I once was doing the Qur'an with her, and I said, what is about these two surahs? I don't know. I really don't know what is about them. And if you look at that surah, it says, if you recite Surah Al-Hajj all the time, you will visit the Kaaba soon. But I'd never recited it like that. And she then told me that she saw this person in her dream who told her to recite Juz 17. And she recited it all the time. So what you recite has an effect on your children. Just like you recite Surah Yasin. You know how if anybody recited Surah Yasin, you knew it would be Surah Yasin. In the same way, if you recited Anbiya and Hajj, I'd tell you exactly that was Anbiya and Hajj, although I don't know why. So it has an effect. All right, you all know about this. I keep on promising to do the Quran City map. Inshallah, we will do that. وَالْزَمْ قَلْبِي حِفْظَ كِتَابِكَ كَمَا عَلَّمْتَنِي. Right, let's go over each of the surahs so you know what they are. Surah Al-Fatiha. And please, we got to do this pretty quickly because I haven't got too much time. I'll get into trouble if I go over. Is the person who owns the car DT74TYA here? It's a BMW. If it is, please move your car. Okay, Surah Al-Fatiha, summary of the Quran. Baqarah, history of faith. Al Imran, Muslim identity. See, you know it so well. Surah Al-Nisa, manifestation of the identity, respect of women. Good. Ma'idah, come on. Perfection of religion. Okay, An'am, practical tawheed, and they made up their own rules. Are you good with that? You need to be on the ball with this. A'raf, 7, rejecting divine guidance. Okay, Anfal, characteristics of believers. Tawbah, hypocrisy exposed. Good. 10, it's never too late. Okay, 11, Hud, lessons from past prophets. 12, trust in Allah. The moment you think of Yusuf, you know it's Yusuf. Trust in Allah. Okay, 13, Ra'ad. Change yourself. Okay, cool, you got it. Ibrahim, du'as of Ibrahim. Hijr, oh come on, Hijr is easy. The Prophet of the Quran do not need validation. Okay, 16, Nahl, what was 16 about? Do you remember? Life has a purpose. Good. Okay, 17, Quranic version of the 10 Commandments. You're getting slower as it goes along. Come on, 18. 5 tests. Yes? Okay. 19, Maryam. It talks about Prophet Isa and Maryam, but also tawakkul. Trust in Allah. Okay. Taha. You know, the moment you think Taha, you've got to think of Musa. That's it. Even if you told me Musa, it's enough. Because it talks about Prophet Musa. Okay, and his perseverance. Oh, okay. Now, last time we met, we did Anbiya quite a while ago. Any idea of what Anbiya is about? Anbiya is about accountability. Okay, and you saw accountability throughout. Okay, so today we're going to do Hajj. And if you look at Surah Hajj is also, if I look at its focus, besides talking about the rights of Hajj. Now, if you look at Anbiya, it had accountability. Hajj gives you the answer of success on the day of Qiyamah. So you have rights of Hajj and accountability, how to get success on the day of Qiyamah. Everybody here, and there is nobody who doesn't want to be successful in the dunya and the akhirah. That is why our parents were quite smart. They said, in your qunut recite, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. They were so smart because there's so many du'as you can recite. They said, no, pick this one. So you have Jannah in the dunya and the akhirah, and the fire doesn't touch you. And they hoped that we would read it and go, sort of practice upon it. Right, let's go Hajj. Now, I hope you've stuck that on like that. You're building on there. And we're going to go to the ayat that are on here, okay? Ya ayyuhan nas, O human beings. Now, first of all, this is a unique surah. Absolutely unique surah. It was revealed in the day, it was revealed in the night. It was revealed on a journey, it was revealed at home. It was revealed in war, and it was revealed in peace. And it is known as Makki and Madani together. You know that in Madani surah, most of it is Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. And in Makki is Ya ayyuhan nas, except for Surah An-Nisa, which starts with Ya ayyuhan nas, and it is a Madani surah. So the moment you think Hajj, you think Makki and Madani, but because the Madani outweighs the Makki, we have put it down as Madani. Are you good with that? Okay, so it's a very unique surah. It's an amazing surah. Okay, Ya ayyuhan nas, oh human beings. It doesn't even talk about Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. It says ittaqu rabbakum, be God conscious. Inna zalzalata sa'ati shay'un azim. Now it doesn't say the violence. Zalla is to slip. It means you will be shaken so much everything will come out. You know, if I have a jar and something is stuck in the jar, what do? Shake it. I shake it and it comes out. If something is dirty and I put some washing up liquid in it and water, I shake it so that everything is taken out. So on the day of Qiyamah, everything in me will be shaken and taken out. Now when I talk to children, I tell them, just imagine one day you came home, everything in your mother got really angry on you. So what she did was, she shook out all your drawers, all your cupboards, and everything is piled in the middle of your room. And she says, sort that out now. That is what's going to happen on Qiyamah. Everything you and I have hidden in here and in our book of records will be just shaken. Just imagine your deeds and my deeds are put in a bag. And they're closed. And they've got your name and my name on them. And we don't want anybody to see them. Well, on the day of Qiyamah, it'll be shaken up. You and me, and when I say you and me, it's me and Allah, you and Allah on your own, but the deeds will be there. So that's why it says Zalzalat as-Sa'atu. And it starts off like that. Okay, so that's ayah 1. Now let's look at ayah 5. Now if you look from ayah 1 to ayah 4, you will see it's basically about those who dispute about Allah, and you can go on to them. But I'd like to go on to the basic ayah. I'll take 5 minutes and then we'll continue through the Hajj next week. There was no ultrasound. Today you have an ultrasound and you can see a baby. If a baby's in the tummy, you can see it. But just reflect on this and we'll finish this and start again next week, okay? Ya ayyuhan nas, oh human beings. In kuntum fi raybin min al-ba'thi. If you are in doubt about being raised again after dying, right? فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ. We created you from dirt. When is this written? Over 1400 years ago. There was no ultrasound. Then he says, min nutfa, from a drop of sperm, okay? Min alaqatin. Alika means something that hangs on. It's like a leech. Have you seen a leech? You put a leech on, it hangs on. So that which hangs on is this little embryo that hangs on to the womb, right? Then alika. Thumma min mudgha mukhallatin. And then it'll be this lump of flesh. I don't know, just Google ultrasound, and it gives you all the different months, and you can't see a baby. You can only see this lump there. That's why it says it's a lump. وَغَيْرِ مُخَلَّكَةٍ. And it's incomplete. لِنُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ. And he says, then what happens is, it will stay in the womb for an appointed time, and then we bring you forth. ثُمَّ نُخْرِجُكُمْ طِفْلًا. Then we bring you out as a baby. ثُمَّ لِتَبْلُغُوا أَشُدَّكُمْ. Then you become baligh. You have maturity. وَمِنْكُمْ يَتَوَفَّى. Some of you we will cause to die. And some of you we will make مَنْ يُرَدُّ إِلَىٰ أَرْذَلِ الْأُمُرِ. To a place of intense old age. لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مِنْ بَعْدِ إِلْمٍ شَيْئًا. When you don't know anything. You know, the older you get, the more you forget. The older you get, it's really, really difficult. And then he says, you know what? Now look at the earth. وَتَرَى الْأَرْضَ حَامِدَةً فَإِذَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْهَا الْمَاءَ. And the moment you bring water on it, اهتزت, it swells. وَرَبَتْ وَأَنْبَتَتْ مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجٍ بَهِيجٍ. And something grows out of it. If you ever thought that when you and I are buried, we are buried, as in there's nothing left, we're seeds. So you're buried, and it goes back to, like you started off as dust, you go back into it, you're buried, and you will grow. And the growth is through your deeds. Nobody forgets, and you won't forget either. So rather than be buried with nothing, try and grow into something that is awesome. We'll go back into this and talk about it next week, inshallah, because my time is up. Inshallah, we will continue with Surah Al-Hajj next week. Are you good with that? I suggest you recite Surah Al-Hajj, especially the dua that I put on the group. Did you see that dua? That dua is the 8 doors of Jannah. So next week, besides Surah Al-Hajj, if we have time, we will go through Asma al-Husna as well, because it talks about the Asma al-Husna. It is a phenomenal dua, absolutely phenomenal. Because it's Friday tomorrow, please recite it. It doesn't take long. It's really, really short. It starts with Ya Allah 15 times. You've got it with you, right? Okay. Inshallah, if you recite it, then next week we'll go into it. Can we end with the Surah Al-Fatiha? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العظيم